you're not content to stay in the job that you're at and actually learn enough to actually be valued within the industry that you're in, to the extent that you can demand the dollars that you want because of the knowledge that you have, the knowledge that you never seem to acquire because you never stick around long enough to learn anything. Rewind that back and then figure that out. You want to be in a position to where you've got so many suitors coming at you to try to obtain your talents because of the value that you bring to the table, because of the knowledge and experience that you've acquired, that you can demand almost anything that you want when it comes to compensation simply because of what you bring to the table. But you never let yourself get there, and so you find yourself hopping from one position to the next position, never really fully solidifying yourself in any particular industry at any particular time, to the extent that nobody wants you by the time you're 40.
In our previous segments, we've explored the importance of being filled with God's presence, the external challenges to living out our faith, and the internal struggles that can dim our light. Now we turn to the practical application. How do we actively serve others with the light of Christ in our daily lives? In a culture where faith conversations can be uncomfortable or even unwelcomed, many Christians hesitate to share their beliefs. Barna research shows a significant decline in the number of Christians who feel it's their personal responsibility to evangelize. Additionally, nearly half of Christian millennials believe that sharing their faith with the hope of conversation is wrong. These statistics reveal a tension between our calling to be the light of the world and the fear of being perceived as judgmental or intrusive. But Jesus didn't call us to blend in. He called us to stand out, to be a city on a hill, shining brightly for all to see. So let's consider this. What does it look like to shine our light in difficult conversations, especially when faith is unpopular? I can count a number of times where I've wanted to speak up about my faith or to share certain things with folks who are going through things, and then I stop. I'm like, and I think for me, I'm not very much of a confrontational person. So like, and with everything in our society that's going on right now, I feel like everything is elevated and everyone's like, you're almost walking on eggshells, I feel like, with everyone. And I don't want to say something that offends someone, but also I know I need to speak up because it might heal them at the same time. I don't know. But also I feel like for me, coming from a community in theater, there are a lot of walks of life that come through the theater.
That's a lovely way to put that.
Yeah, right? Mm-hmm. Lots of walks of life from a spectrum of long spectrum of
backgrounds and whatnot. Yeah,
exactly. Mm-hmm. And I find that faith in theater doesn't always coincide because of the different
points of view.
Exactly. Because of the different points of view. So especially when I'm doing a show and I don't know, I just don't feel comfortable to talk about that. Even me doing this podcast, like I just mentioned to people, but I delay the fact that it's a faith-based podcast because I don't want to ruffle any feathers. But it's my truth at the same time. So if I'm holding back my truth, like, you know what I mean? People should make room for me to live my truth as well.
Well, I don't want to come across, I want to help you with something.
Okay.
The world says my truth, but we say the truth.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of part of the problem. That they're trying to put us in a box to say this is just your truth. It's not the truth. And if we believe, we have to believe that he is the way, the truth, and the life. And no man comes into the Father but by him. And that's why they don't like us, because people want to believe that there are many ways into heaven, and they want to be able to adopt their own version of acceptance and access. And because Christianity is all inviting, but at the same time, it comes with rules and it comes with terms and conditions for surrender.
Yeah.
Then it's why it's one of the most hated religions, if you will. Why it's met with such intense protest.
Yeah.
Right? And it's because it says that your way of living is not okay. Right?
Yeah.
And who wants that when you want to rebel against that? Right? And so as a result, the way to silence you is to make you feel uncomfortable. Right?
Yeah.
To make it seem like you're the one who's off. Like you're not part of the majority.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that somehow you're the minority as it pertains to the way of life. And if they can somehow do that, then they can quiet you. And sometimes the way that they do that is by being the loudest themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the loudest oftentimes gets the most attention. And then try to make it seem as though that there's something wrong with you. And because we're not prepared for those things individually a lot of times, it does drive us into a silent state.
Yeah.
So this is where the training part comes in, right? So that you can stand steadfast in the faith and be able to, even if you're not the most eloquent individual when it comes to speaking, be able to at least articulate your stance.
Yeah.
Just because I don't agree with you doesn't mean that I love you any less. Just because I don't, condone your activities doesn't mean that I don't care about you.
Yeah.
Just because we may be on, say, opposite teams, right, doesn't mean that I don't have a desire for your redemption. And that's in the face of knowing that you may not want the redemption of the team that I'm on.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you're still human. And as long as you're not evil, I don't wish any ill will upon you.
Yeah.
Right? And sometimes that's kind of where we have to live. And we shouldn't have to feel, like if we do voice our opinion, as strong as they voice theirs, those who are opposite to us. And this can take on a lot of different shapes and sizes. People always want to relegate it to things such as homosexuality, but sometimes it's just a total difference of opinion. Everybody who differs in the opinion of a Christian that isn't necessarily a homosexual. Sometimes you got somebody who may just be, Islam may be their religion. Sometimes you got people who may have come from the Far East, and so that they prescribe to things like Buddhism and things of that nature. And so there's a lot of different opinions that are out there.
Yeah.
And none of them seem to have any problem with being loud about what they believe. And so you shouldn't, but guess what they all do? They all want you to be quiet. Like, they don't have a problem with somebody speaking up about Buddhism. They don't have a problem with somebody speaking up about Hinduism. They don't have a problem with somebody speaking up about homosexuality. Oh, but the minute you mention Christianity, everybody wants you to shut up. Nobody wants to hear that mess. We're tired. Well, isn't that something to say that they're all combined against us, those who are believers in Christianity, and not combative with each other? Because everybody recognizes the way, the truth, and the life. It's inherent in them. They can't even escape it. The Bible says in Romans chapter 1, where it deals with the law, and it deals with the fact that there are those who have the law and there are those who don't have the law. Those who don't have the law don't get judged according to the law. They get judged according to their conscience. What is your conscience? It's God's embedded thing within all of us that tells us the difference between right and wrong. And everybody is aware of the wrong that they do. Nobody will ever be able to escape. And so therefore, there is no escape from judgment. And that's what people don't want. It's the judgment that comes along. It's the conviction that comes along with Christianity. It is embedded within the faith. And because you say you represent that and you're in the space that I'm in, I'm naturally offended. Yeah. Not because of you, but because of what you represent, and what you represent convicts me. Well, that's not the case. Whatever the case may be. And there's so many things that we can go into with that I could harp on. Because especially when it comes to other religions, especially when it comes to things like Islam and the long history of Christians and Islam and the wars that have been fought and the blood that's been shed over the centuries, right? On these two different faiths, beliefs. Yeah. The world does want you to be quiet. The ruler of this world is not God. The owner of this world is God. You're in his world. But the ruler of this world, the society, the system that we are a part of, is Satan, is our adversary. You can never be disillusioned about that fact. And if you understand that fact, then you have to understand that the world is going to naturally be against you as a Christian, simply because the world is ran by Satan.
Wow, I never thought about it like that. I didn't think about that.
And so naturally, everybody's going to be against you on the topic when it comes to Christianity, except those who profess and believe themselves to be Christians. Because the system is designed to shut us up. They've been trying to shut Christians up since the time of Christ. They've been trying to shut the Jews up since the time of Abraham. We're still here. We're still talking. And the reason is because God's got us. And that's going to come with some level of persecution. Now, be thankful that your level of persecution is just some people shunning you and not wanting you to be a part. And the reason why some of us get silenced is because we got one foot in the world and one foot in the kingdom. The part that's in the world puts us in those spaces, and somehow by sharing our Christianity, we feel like we'll be either one, alienated, isolated, or not allowed to be a part of. So a lot of us within our workplace will keep our Christianity to ourselves. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with, how could I put it? Don't expect you to go into work and say, Jesus, 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 Jesus. But if you do, hey, praise the Lord. Right? But just like I don't expect people to be somewhat flamboyant with what it is that they believe in the workplace, I don't have the expectation that we should too. We're there to do a job. We can do our job. And if we have encounters with individuals who are interested in maybe our thoughts on things, then at that point, there's an opportunity to share. And in that regard, that is your ability to be able to witness, but your witness first starts with what you model, and what you model is the first thing that people see long before they ever find out what your heart is. So what we can't do is do the opposite of what we should be doing, to the extent that people don't believe because of the fact that they don't see any belief in us. And so that means that when we are in the workplace, that means we should model the things of God first before ever opening our mouths. We hinder the witness of the kingdom more times than we help it, simply because of our actions. You can't be two-faced. You can't be double-minded. You cannot say I'm a Christian and then listen to secular music before an audience of those who are watching you, because guess what? Now they don't find any credence in or merit or legitimacy or validity in what it is that you say, because you're saying one thing, but you're doing another.
Yeah.
Right? So either you reject the things that are not like God and walk the walk so that when you talk, even if they don't, I heard it said this one time, even if they don't believe in the God that you serve, they at least should believe that you believe in the God that you serve based off of how you conduct yourself.
Yeah.
Some folks don't believe you even believe because of how you carry yourself, how you conduct yourself, the things that you say, the things that you do. They're not emblematic of somebody who is a believer. And so that should be your first mode. Model it. Model what you say you believe. And then the second mode is when you speak, people will maybe pay attention. And then after that, it's always helpful to have a companion, right? When Jesus sent the 70 out, he sent them by what? Twos, right? He didn't send them by themselves alone. He sent them in twos. And there's something to be said of that, because if iron sharpens iron, and if the Bible says one can put 1,000 to flight, but two can put 10,000 to flight, then that means that we're stronger together. And then if it says a threefold cord is not easily broken, in the place where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there I am in the midst. What he's trying to establish for you is don't do this alone.
Yeah.
And all too often, we find ourselves alone. So the first thing you should do is find another believer, because there's strength in numbers. Right? And y'all had those conversations, and y'all buffer one another, and y'all reinforce one another, and y'all, seek out your fellow believers. Because then where there are 2 of you, at least 2 of you, there he is. And a conversation between 2 believers with Christ in the middle is enough to change your environment. We spend too much time becoming uncomfortable and allowing them to make us uncomfortable, those who believe otherwise, when it really should be the other way around. If we truly believe we represent the way, the truth, and the life. I'm going to pause there because I feel like I speak another hour on this, but I'm sure you got other questions.
I do. Second question is, how do we stand firm in our beliefs without coming off as judgmental or self-righteous?
Okay, I love that question. So I'm gonna use a word here, right? That essentially, if it is embedded in your paradigm, in your mind, if it's embedded in your heart, your spirit, your soul, then it's almost, I don't want to say impossible, but you protect yourself from coming off or being perceived as judgmental in those things. And it's akin to what I talked about earlier. The word that you really want to hone in on, world, is compassion. So earlier I talked about grace and having some.
Yeah.
Right? So with that grace, there's this need for compassion. Compassion is to say that I kind of understand where you are. And it's not to say I take pity on you, but it's introspective in the fact that I too remember when I was lost. I too remember when I didn't get it. I too remember when I was really off in my thinking, and therefore that's what humbles me to, instead of having an arrogant, conceited attitude towards you, which would suggest that to you that in my mind, I see myself above you, that I actually put myself in remembrance of who I am and where I was and how I thought differently until I had my encounter, until I was on this journey. And when I think back to who I was, I look at every person as nothing more than another version of me. Right?
Yeah.
And no longer am I talking to you. I'm talking to the me that was you.
Yeah.
And how, I think I've mentioned this before, Galatians chapter 6. And I think I may have beat it up the last time. I think I might have said Ephesians 6, which is put on the whole armor God, but it doesn't matter. Brethren, if you see your brother over, now this is usually directed towards fellow believers, but we're talking in the context of non-believers in compassion, but the sentiment is the same. Brethren, if you see your brother overtaken in a fault, ye who are spiritual, restore such a one in a spirit of meekness, humility, considering yourself, or else you will be susceptible to being tempted. That's my paraphrase version. You'll be susceptible to falling into the same trap that they are.
Yeah.
So have a little bit of humility. Consider yourself if you were in their shoes, and then talk to them the way that you would want to be talked to in order to change your mind about the very thing that you're about to approach them on. When we have compassion, we take in consideration things like ourselves. And we realize we take out any thought of who we think we are, any thought of being elevated or better than, and things of that nature. And yeah, I was there before too. So now I'm here to help because God helped me, so I can help you.
Yeah.
Right? And when you truly are trying to be helped, or when you truly are trying to help someone, right? Like if you think back to all the times we tried to, you're so tender, and gentle, and soft spoken, and not so abrasive and strong, and loud, and argumentative, and attitudey. Right? I know that's not a word. But you approach when you're trying to help, like the picture of helping somebody is almost like seeing a little old lady crossing the street who can barely hold her groceries, and you just let me help you. Right? You're gentle. And if you approached people in that manner, right? You take nobody's perceiving that as a time of judgment, of ridicule, of coming down. No, it's in the times where we want to puff our chest out, get all strong, demonstrative in our face, and we take on this superior persona as we on someone. That's where the judgment, the perception of judgment comes from. But when you can pull back, soften your approach, soften your tone, and really just try to give some guidance. When you can preface it by saying, the greatest thing that we have is our own personal testimony. And when you can tell somebody, I get it. I was jacked up in my thinking at one point. Let me tell you a little bit about me. Right now I may present as having it together and having a good head on my shoulders and things of that nature, but there was a time where I was this, and I was that, and I was this, and I was that. And I had to experience this. I had to experience that. And I needed a change. And then so I did change. And then now what you see today is the result of that change. And the catalyst to the change was my encounter with Christ. And I'm not trying to come at you. I mean, ultimately, you can take or leave what I give you. But I see your struggle and I feel for you. And I offer you this advice, what you do with it is up to you. But I only offer it because I care. And I want to see something different. I've never ran into anybody that when that is the approach, even if they don't agree, they're not going to summarily dismiss you.
Yeah.
Right? And we are all shaped after that fashion. Nobody wants to be told in a very stern, strong, that you're wrong. Because that makes you feel a certain type of way.
Yeah, it does.
And so maybe if we approached it differently, we'd be more effective as believers in our witness. And in doing so, maybe we would see more lives coming to Christ. But all too often, we portray God as a father in heaven coming down with a hammer, a persecutor. Because our voices, our messaging is laced with, you're going to hell. And that's not very compassionate.
Yeah.
That's like saying, do this or you're going to jail. Right? That's not going to compel anybody.
Yeah.
Oh, it might compel some, but it's not enough to stick around. That's why you have so many people come and then fall away. We have to change our attitude, our tone, our paradigm, our approach. We have to have compassion. If we don't, I think Gandhi said it once. There's like this entire story about him being open to Christianity. But because of how the Christians of his time dealt with him, and we were talking about a man who was a spiritual leader in his country.
Yeah.
What an opportunity we missed by our abrasiveness.
Yeah.
A mixture of country culture with kingdom culture that clash.
Yep.
And as a result, he makes a statement like, I receive your Christ, but I reject your Christianity. If we adjust our mindsets and go from I've got in and stop treating it like a country club that you got to jump through these hoops in order to get into the country club, and that if you're not in the country club then somehow you're less than. The lost are not to be looked upon as just a bunch of evil people, because such was yourself at one particular point in time. They're to be looked upon as, and don't get me wrong, evil's out there, but in general, the lost are to be looked like, that puppy that's in the street that got out the door and you got to find its home, right? That child who lost their parent and doesn't know where their parent and needs to be placed back, with their parent. That's what lost is. And that calls for compassion, not ridicule.
Yeah.
You don't ask the child, well, why did you leave your parent? You don't say to the dog, well, why did you leave the house? That actually, when you say it like that, it just kind of sounds dumb, right? And if we truly are going to interact with the lost, how about we change up our methodology?
Yeah. And I mean, just bouncing off of that, in what areas in the daily life of a Christian have we've been blending in instead of boldly standing out?
That's a tough question, and I'd say that's a tough question because there's a number of dynamics at play. There's a number of variables at play, right? The one where if I look at that question, I think we can generalize too much sometimes, right? All those who are believers, all those who are Christians, are not on equal playing field, right? Mm-hmm. They're not all on equal ground.
Yeah.
And what do I mean by that? You got some people who are believers who are affluent believers. Mm-hmm. And so from an economic standpoint, we find ourselves in various different places as believers. Then geography plays a role. Then, the societal and political norms. I believe that there are Republican believers, independent believers, Democratic believers, right? I don't believe that your political association or affiliation should be demonized. Mm-hmm. Those are differences in opinion about what you think, how you think your society should function, right? And those who are representatives can, I've never found, really the individual who could argue that any of those parties have gotten it all right.
Yeah.
Right? And so it shouldn't be that, right? We shouldn't demonize people for being a part of a political party. Mm-hmm. So when you're looking at all of those various different dynamics, the blend in part, right, becomes a very interesting conversation because we blend differently, right? We have different struggles that we are. So it's like saying, it's like ignoring the fact that we're all on the journey, right? And because we're all on a journey and we're all at varying different places within our journey, and then you throw in the mixture, this is why I said dynamics and variables, and then you throw in the mixture that we're all on a journey in different places within our journey at varying different levels of maturity, at very different levels of faith. And then we're in varying different levels of economic status, social status, socioeconomic, and different socioeconomic norms, different positions, different roles, different ethnicities. I mean, you start throwing all of that in the mix, and it is somewhat of a balancing act. You are Dominican, Puerto Rican, right? Your cultural differences from where you come from become something that you have to adjust within those norms. You don't necessarily are not trying to blend in because that is your family, right? And with that family and that culture comes certain norms that you have to, live with and adjust to, right? And if you're the first in your family who believed, which, in your particular case may be a really tall order because of the general belief, historical beliefs, right, that exist within the Dominican and Puerto Rican culture. But there may be other behaviors that exist within that culture that, are so normal that might seem egregious to others. Yeah. And you're trying to, still operate within that. And it may not mean that you necessarily participate, but you also aren't trying to demonize and dehumanize or to ridicule people within, your heritage, right? For being who they are.
Yeah.
So multiply that times every culture, every ethnicity, every socioeconomic status that's different. And the question becomes, how do we uniformly deliver this gospel to the people, no matter what our background is, no matter what our socioeconomic situation is, cultural situation is, ethnicity? And the common denominator to it all is the change.
Yeah.
The common denominator to it all is for you to change and to get better. Because in spite of all the things, right, that people may do in their various different backgrounds with all of the dynamics, the one constant is that when people look at a person who professes themselves to be a Christian, it should almost be, we should all reflect the same type of progress, which is what operates on a continuum for those who truly believe is change. Like, we should all be getting better.
Yeah.
We should all be becoming better representatives. And the change should be evident.
Yeah.
It should be visible. It should be not hidden. So if you don't want to blend, to avoid blending, no matter what your situation is, commit to change and being okay with who you're changing into. Don't make an excuse for your changing. Because some folks are going to be like, what's wrong with you? You used to like to drink beer. Or a wine cooler. Like, God, wine cooler? I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with it. Look, there's nothing wrong with beer. There's nothing wrong with a wine cooler. There's nothing wrong with wine. There's nothing wrong with alcohol. However, if you drink too much of it, you may lose your senses.
Yeah.
And then the you that's really you is what's going to probably come out. And I don't know how much you want out.
Yeah.
So, if you know that the you that actually is you and all the things that go on inside of your mind and things of that nature, if you realize that is not a good look, then maybe you shouldn't drink. Maybe you should make every effort to stay sober.
Yeah. So
that you can be sober-minded. So that the changes that you're making can actually be received.
Yep.
The alcohol is not the problem, right? Marijuana is not the problem. What marijuana, when it's used incorrectly, what it can do to your body, how it can alter your state, how it can change your sober-mindedness, that's usually where the problem lies, right? And how about you just change? Because some folks are going to be like, you don't drink no more, you don't smoke no more, you don't do all that. Man, you ain't cussed in. I don't remember last time I heard you cuss. And then some folks are going to come at you. They're going to be like, oh, you probably think you too good for us now. And then when you start separating yourself like, oh, so you all high and holy. Yeah, you know what? If that's the persecution that came back in the days, folks would get killed, right? Stoned and all this other stuff. But okay, you get some words. It's not the worst thing in the world.
No.
So if you're blending because more than likely you don't understand the importance to not blend. You don't understand the importance to be okay to make the decision to change and to stick by it. And so many people don't change because they think it has something to do with them no longer having fun.
Yeah.
But you find other things that can keep your interest so that whatever the fun was that you were having doesn't separate you from God. Right? Find new ways to have fun. I told you before, I have a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun. It's just not the fun that some folks think you got to have.
Yeah.
Right? Have a lot of fun. And it don't keep me out of heaven. It ain't the type of fun to keep me out of heaven. And so the common denominator to it all is to change.
Yeah.
For us to change. By changing, you inherently won't blend.
Yeah.
You'll stand out. So that's what I got for you.
No, yeah. That was great. And one thing that came to mind when you were saying that, like, you have to change in order, the first thing that came to mind was New York City. because when you go to New York, this is why I love New York, you can dress however you want and it's fashion. Nobody's going to judge you for dressing this way. But also, if you notice, there's so many different cultures in New York and people just live next door to each other. There's no, I'm not saying, of course, there's people judge everywhere, of course, but I feel like it's a bit more accepted in New York because this is the place where people come and like even down to the driving style like that. New York is very similar to the way they drive in the Dominican Republic. Crazy. But it, I don't know if I'm on the right page here, but one thing that really stood out to me is honestly like the way people show up and like you can be from a different culture, a different religion, and people are like, yeah, I'm going to stand next to you in the subway station because we got to get from point A to point B.
We all travel the same way.
Exactly. Nobody cares. And so when I was in school, like I was like, it was kind of like new to me. But then I grew into it. I changed and I was like, oh, it's nice. So then when I come back home and I dress a certain way, I get looks in the grocery store. I'm like, what? Like, what's so weird about this? Like, can I just be me and dress how I want? Like, but yeah, that's what it reminded me of.
And it's funny because in big cities, and I happen to be from one, being from Chicago, you can become desensitized to what would be considered extreme in other places or, a deviation from the norm per se. And the drawback to that is that you become so desensitized because of so many things like crime and things of that nature that, it's just another day, right?
That's true.
So that's kind of the drawback to it. But one of the beauties of it being, kind of being a melting pot, if you will, is that you're not, they tend to fear what they don't understand or they tend to respond differently to the things that they don't understand. When the norm is that it's not necessarily what you would expect. And nobody else is reacting a certain way to it, then you just kind of like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's normal. It's the new norm. So, So just be you. Be the believer. And don't care, like you said, don't care what everybody else thinks. Now, that doesn't mean go act a fool or anything like that. But it's that you should be able to be comfortable in your own skin being who you are called to be.
As we close out today's episode, we want to leave you with this reminder. Your light matters. You were never meant to walk through life drained, discouraged, or dimmed. Jesus said, "Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven." But here's the truth. Before we can shine, we need to be filled. Before we can help others, we have to first say, "God, help me." Today's conversation was about that posture, about slowing down, checking in with our hearts and asking, am I running to God first or trying to carry this all on my own? Am I letting the world shape my light or letting God ignite it? Am I hiding my light in fear or choosing to let it shine anyway? Whether you're facing spiritual fatigue, cultural pressure, or personal discouragement, you are not alone. And more than that, your light is still needed. Not because it's perfect, but because it points people to the one who is. This episode is a call to realignment, but also to community. And we want to hear from you. What spoke to you today? What challenged you or gave you clarity? What do you want us to unpack deeper in future episodes? Drop a comment, message us, or connect on social, because your voice matters. And your journey is part of this space. We'll be right here with you every Saturday at 7 p.m., bringing you authentic conversations rooted in scripture, grace, and growth. Next week, we're shifting from how we serve to who we are with B for originality. And it's all about embracing the identity God gave you before you were even born. Psalm 139:16 reminds us that every part of us, our personality, our path, our passions, was written by God himself. But let's be real. In a world full of comparison, pressure to conform, and performance culture, it's easy to hide the very things God meant to shine through us. We'll be breaking down what it means to fully embrace how God created you, to stop comparing, stop conforming, and start living boldly in the design He intended for your life. If you've ever struggled with self-doubt, with trying to be enough, or hiding parts of who you are, this episode is for you.